Great. Well, I think that's a good segue into our next segment, which is focusing on driving revenue, which I think will be a hot topic for pretty much everybody in the industry right now, but I think is specifically something that smaller guys are looking to do. So how do new services actually improve ARPU and your ARPU and margins in your perspective? I know we touched on that a little bit prior, but let's drill down a little more into it.
Yeah, sure. So to establish the semantics of it, right? New services are always going to be new revenue. So that should be a fundamental. That's something that's very simple. And it increases ARPU because that new revenue is associated with subscriber-based services, right? So not just residential subscribers, but we're talking commercial subscribers, we're talking enterprise subscribers. So that's what we're talking about when we mean subscribers. And of course, each of those three things have varying levels of revenue and margin. As we're talking about new services, right? So when we add a new line item to the bill, that's going to represent a new thing. A new source of revenue, excuse me. So what we're trying to do is help our friends in the MSO community link the value of that service to the line item on the bill in their day-to-day lives or work. That's something that we work with sales teams on, we work with marketing teams on, we work with the vendor community because they're also investing heavily in marketing the value of this service. Lots of stuff for our operator friends to take advantage of. So when we're talking about that, that's what the revenue sort of part of the equation is. The margin part of the equation is taking a look at the absolute latest business models in the most advantageous way. So just from a historical perspective, our services that we have deployed over the last 30 years started very CapEx heavy, right? We had to buy iron that went into data centers that were very application specific, whether it was video connectivity, voice, things like that. Those things have migrated to more virtualized. And then today, and maybe, recently, SaaS model. So software as a service where you have some of those things that were hardware specific are now virtualized. That SaaS model still has some encumbrance. There's some upfront fees to integrate with new billing systems. There's some upfront fees from a license perspective because you still have to pay back for some of the software, the virtualization that has been done. And then, of course, there's ongoing license fees. That can still be very, very heavy, especially for a service that is nascent. In other words, a service that you're still trying to test out the value within your local markets, where it may have fit a need nationally, maybe the local market, it's not as valuable. And so you don't want to have to invest all that heaviness, even in the SaaS model. So what we're looking at is the latest trends in revenue share, in zero CapEx type models, managed services, where operators can opt in, try these things at a small scale, but still get the benefit of the features. And the things that hit, great, everybody shares in the success. And then we continue to build upon that within the same model so that you're really just focusing on the relationship part for the subscriber and picking services at the highest level, making sure that the value of those new services matches exactly the value you need to deliver in that specific market.
So, do you see any specific services that you think will move the needle more, or does it really depend on the market and the provider?
I would say that there are a couple of trends nationally that should make a difference in each local market. So we've all been talking about video. Video is experiencing somewhat of a renewal. There are some really innovative ways to look at video. When I say video, it's really how a subscriber consumes it. They're still kind of in the app realm. They're looking for some sort of aggregation, but they still want access to all that great content. So you see examples in the market where there are some operators innovating this space and meeting the subscribers where they are from a video perspective. So when we look at a renewal of video, we're looking at cloud native solutions, we're looking at AI native solutions, TV as a service, things like that. Another example, again, a lot of people are looking into a mobile phone offering through becoming an MVNO. The examples of the deals that are out there today are still a bit encumbered by this SaaS model. Hyberspace is actively identifying new models, new ecosystem partners that are not quite as heavy to get into that business space. And when you consider the bundle of MVNO, the video, and the connectivity, that's just places where the local fiber companies, even the consolidated fiber companies, they're just not going there yet. They're really narrowly focused on adding homes passed, trying to get more speed. And this is an opportunity where cable can pull a fast one. It's a very familiar bundle. A lot of people have not forgotten the value that they've gotten out of that bundle, and they're going to come back. We start adding things like a subscriber application to that mix. And what that does is increases the brand value, and you get to start talking about the value of these things in those terms. So when you combine a subscriber application to the bundle, now you get to frame up the value and how it's described within those things. So those are just a few a few examples of those applications I've been talking about. Each one of those is going to raise revenue. And when we talk about the latest business models related to success-based revenue share, things like that, it can be much easier to deploy from a budget perspective, which means margins start to go up.
I'm glad you mentioned video because that's been, that's gotten a bad rep over the last few years, right? I mean, all it was, subscriber declines, but, there's been a couple of small and some big operators who have kind of turned the corner on that, it seems. And because they've taken, an out of the box approach on how they market and do that. Do you see any kind of potential, other potential sleeping giants, so to say, as far as, product lines go? Or, is it more of a, I know one of the things I've seen, over, the last few months, years is a focus on commercial, like network management for, smart buildings and things like that. Is it more, is that where the growth opportunity is, more towards that kind of stuff? Or is it just, there's a lot of opportunity in old products just presented a new way?
No, absolutely there are. There are plenty of examples in the commercial space where even an offering that is just a little bit more advanced can command an excellent reach and really, really good margins. And so when we're looking past sort of the more mundane IT type deliveries into things that help people run their businesses. There are plenty of cloud native applications, success-based applications that service providers can look into and enable their business customers to run their businesses better than any local fiber company can help them. So there is absolutely a sleeping giant in that regard, all the way down from small businesses through enterprise. But beyond that, there's one trend that's coming up that is getting talked about a lot, and that is data center capacity on network. And data center can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And here I'm talking about the spaces that our friends in the cable space have already carved out for themselves. They have created or leased or built lots of different space that has power, connectivity, electricity, but they're not using it all, right? And in this token economy of AI from sort of a mass market perspective, the difference that a cable company can make is that putting some of those services that are new and exciting, like AI agents, even machine learning for less agentic AI applications like reducing OpEx through automated finance, things like that. That's going to help a variety of businesses. Having that capacity on net provides some really interesting opportunities when it comes to data privacy, which our cable friends are really already good at, right? Exploiting that strength to be able to offer those types of services because they have facilities on that, because they have people in the communities that are helping operate this stuff. It provides a tremendous opportunity on the business side for this capacity and these new services that are related to AI and local storage of sensitive data.
One thing you talk about is bundling products under, a brand to make the company more of a platform than a pipe. So how do you see brand elevation as improving the outcome for smaller operators?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because this branding aspect is a huge component of what we've been calling the virtuous cycle. There are plenty of cloud native opportunities and offerings out there today. I'll make an example out of YouTube TV. So YouTube TV, great product. A lot of subscribers use it on their own. Some cable companies have decided that they want to use that as their video offering. One thing that's missing out of that offering is a connection of the value of that service to who is delivering it. There are recent statements being made that some of these high value the applications like YouTube TV are getting a free ride on our networks, and that's absolutely true. So when you consider services that act a little bit like YouTube TV but have your brand, that enables you so many opportunities with each subscriber to strengthen the relationship through upselling for new connectivity services or adjacent services like MVNO. You can advertise for your bundle in ways that you control. And again, it's the messaging. It's really about, hey, aren't you enjoying this great thing? It's brought to you by this brand, which also happens to be in your community in all these different ways. Yes, you can purchase advertising in YouTube TV to deliver that message, but that's going way outside of the loop. It doesn't need to be there, right? It can be on net, it can be within your control, and it can be everywhere, especially when you add things like subscriber application, where if you're rolling out a new product or if you're rolling out a new offer for customers, it can just feed on itself where that relationship builds more revenue in services that have already high margins. That's going to drive customer acquisition costs decline because your reach starts going up, and it just doesn't cost as much to deliver those services and to sell those services into the new subscribers. So that's part of that virtuous cycle we've been talking about.
Great. How important do you see mobile as being part of this picture, especially since, I know it's been tough for smaller operators because there's a lot of upfront costs involved, but now NCTC has an MVNO. A lot of smaller operators have kind of taken advantage of that. Do you see that as a growth area for smaller companies?
I do. It's always going to have its limits because when it's still a fiercely competitive market. However, because of deals like what the NCTC has brought to the table, it's going to be easier for cable to get it out the door than some of the other disaggregated companies, even the consolidated fiber companies. It's really valuable in the sense that when you look at a disaggregated bundle, right, you get your phone service from an MNO and you get your cable service from your cable provider. When a cable provider has that service, they can point to the full bill, right? And they can say to a subscriber, hey, you're going to be able to save a lot because I bundle these services. It's just a great conversation to have with the subscriber. Even if they don't go forward, the subscriber now understands that, oh, my cable company actually has these opportunities, so that maybe when I pay off my iPhone that I subsidize through my MNO, maybe I'll take a look at it. And maybe at that time, you're going to have a great deal on gig service or things like that. So you've started the conversation, you started the ball rolling, you can keep in contact with them, things like that, things you're already investing in. It just enables for you to have more of the conversation with the subscriber, get them excited about coming back to you when things are right and things like that.
So, what about technology? I know you mentioned AI, and I'm just wondering, do you see that more as kind of a way to make the network more efficient for the provider, or is there another opportunity product-wise or otherwise for technology like that?
Yeah, as a technologist with several patents, I'm always going to point to it and say it's my favorite thing in the world to talk about. However, as all CTOs know, and our friendly operators, the innovation and the technology has to drive something. And what we're talking about at Hyberspace, we're really only talking about technology that does drive something. It has to drive new revenue, it has to drive higher margins, and ideally, it will drive both. And so we're really focusing on, it's not really low hanging fruit because it's still pretty tough to get it out there, but we're focusing on those most impactful solutions that enable higher margins and more revenue. There are technologies that are enabling that higher margin, and that's exactly where we like to drive the conversation with each of our customers in the service provider space so that they know where they can actually focus their technical efforts to ensure that things are integratable, things are deployable, and they deliver on the potential of more margins. Innovation for innovation's sake, it does have a place in our world, but unfortunately today we've got to be laser focused on staying competitive.
I'm glad you said that because, one thing that I think has played out over the years is you don't have to chase every single technological upgrading trend.
No.
That, the companies that kind of waited and sat back and watched it play out were the ones that, did better in the long run. So, I mean, I won't get into actual specifics, but you don't believe that every small operator has to go for every technological trend that's out there. They have to pick and choose.
That's right. And if they let their subscribers pick and choose for them, it becomes very, very simple. This is again where Hyberspace comes in and does that sort of market analysis, and you're going to see what the trends are. There is plenty of public data that is available that we can use the most modern tools to analyze and to come up with recommendations of, okay, here's the order of impact in this particular market. You don't have to go through the entire list. You can if you want to. You're going to dominate, great, but you can probably dominate with the first three, right? We can start talking about what's the best way to get those first three in front of your subscribers and start building that relationship within the brand. And we'll have a holistic plan on how to do that with the latest partners that are available in a success-based model. So you can start today. It doesn't take a huge amount of planning and budgeting to consider where you're going to go with your, not just budget, but your cycles, right? Your actual resources and things like that. This is something we can help with end to end.
Okay.